Their faces had the same angles, the same slopes, the same pinkish paleness, so unlike Mom's tan and freckles. It wasn't uncommon for strangers to mistake Aunt Dora for her older sister. "Really? What kind of life or death situation?" Mom asked, humoring her. "Let me guess. A plague." "Did you see how she flew in here?" Aunt Dora said. She set down her mug with a light thunk and half-closed her book, marking her place with her thumb. "Clearly being chased by a griffin." No, she likes animals too much. She only runs from chores." Rhoda kept quiet. They didn't know about Anonymous. Before they could come up with any more guesses, she gently dug the crow out of the folds of her jacket and placed him into the water to thaw, careful to keep his head above the surface. Mom put down her pen, frowning. "Oh," said Aunt Dora. Her eyes went round as coins under the crisp new paper white of her hair. Aunt Dora had been about Rhoda's age when she'd gotten lost in the mist, just like the crow. Her hair had frozen up, and its pigment had bled away. Even her eyelashes were white. As Rhoda examined the crow, using her fingers to comb through his feathers and loosen some of the frost, she found streaks of the same shade of white in his plumage. Those would be permanent, just like it had been permanent for Aunt Dora. Mom looked at the crow and then at Aunt Dora and back again. "Already?" She spoke so quietly that Rhoda almost missed it. "I thought I still had a few days," Aunt Dora said in an undertone. "I lost track of time." "You, of all people?" They always talked like that, filling in a conversation that was happening half in their heads. Rhoda was used to it. The crow stirred, his wings twitching in the water. "I'm going to take care of him until he gets better," Rhoda said. "He can stay in my room." Mom tapped the edge of the table with a fingernail, again and again, the sounds stringing together like beads on a necklace. Tap, 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 tap. "I have it on good authority that crows make terrible house guests." "We can't leave him outside to die." "He can stay in the living room," Mom said. The tapping ceased. "Right, Dora?" Aunt Dora flinched, as if she'd forgotten everyone else was there. She'd been studying the crow with a strained, tight-lipped expression. Her brows were drawn together, an unhappy furrow between them. "While I'm sure he'd prefer more luxurious accommodations," she said dryly, "the living room will do just fine." Aunt Dora's fingers tugged absently at a cord around her neck, from which hung a ring, the only piece of jewelry Rhoda had ever seen her wear. But as soon as Rhoda's eyes caught the movement, she let go, folding her hands on her lap. Once the crow was warmed up, Rhoda dried him off with the softest towel she could dig out of the linen closet and left him wrapped loosely in a blanket on the windowsill. She thought he'd feel better if he could look outside. He didn't move except to tuck his head under his wing and go back to sleep. "What are you doing?" Mom asked, as Rhoda filled a small bowl with water and started cutting up a pear into pieces. "He needs food," Rhoda said. "Are you okay?" "Of course," said Mom. "Why wouldn't I be?" "You're drinking ginger tea. Fresh," she said, nodding toward the lump of raw ginger resting on a cutting board by the sink. "You only do that when you're stressed." The smell of honey hung in the air. Mom had both hands wrapped around the biggest mug they owned, and her tan skin had gone pale under the waning sunlight. "You're too young to be such a worrier," Mom said, with a lopsided smile. "The only thing you should be worrying about is your homework. My sources say you have a quiz tomorrow." Rhoda made a disgusted face. "Are you 100% sure your sources are trustworthy?" Mom tapped a finger against her chin. "Well, my source is the planner I found open on the table last night, which is where you always leave your things, even when I tell you to put them away. Though I suppose it could have belonged to the gremlin that always makes the messes you swear you couldn't possibly be responsible for. It was covered in your handwriting, but maybe the gremlin does forgery on the side."